and welcome to the next of our People Lab Elements sessions. I'm Katie and today we're going to be talking about employee voice. So I just wanted to start with a quick reminder about why we're talking about employee voice, especially if you haven't been able to catch any of the previous sessions. So back in 2009, David McLeod and Nita Clark, there they are there, first talked about the enablers of engagement in a report to government. And you can access this very easily on the Engage for Success website. So I'll make sure that I post the link to this on our social media platforms straight after this session. So in this report, they introduced 4 enablers of employee engagement. Strategic narrative. Oh, don't know what's happened to the slide there. Let's try that again. There we go. Sorry about that. Strategic narrative, managers, or sometimes referred to as leadership, employee voice, and integrity. Now, we've also added a 5th enabler there, and that's involvement. So today we're going to be talking about employee voice, and to us, what that means is that employee views are sought out, they're listened to, and see that their opinions count and make a difference. They speak out and challenge when appropriate. A strong sense of listening and responsiveness permeates the organisation, enabled by effective communication. So in short, the employee voice is sought and heard up and down the organisation, and as a result, they feel as though their voice counts. So before we go any further, I just want to point out that employee voice is much, much more than just running an annual survey. In fact, you might remember this image here. So employee surveys are still very much seen as transactional rather than transformational. So to have a strong employee voice, conversation should really be two-way. There should be a dialogue between the employee and the organisation, rather than just having that one opportunity to provide an opinion or a comment and then radio silence. And that's regardless of whether or not the business has actually included their feedback into their action plan, which may very well be the case. So in summary, employees need to feel listened to, and providing feedback is key to this. So, where possible, try and make your communication channels two-way. With all these technological advances, it's easier than ever to do this, especially with the rise of employee apps or platforms like Yammer and Facebook Workplace, to name a couple. And these platforms allow conversations to take place online, so much easier than ever before. Other things you can do, you can utilise representative bodies or employee networks. Now that could be through the more formal forums, such as those that are run in conjunction with unions often, or alternatively you could set up an employee champions programme, and we've found these to work really, really well. In fact, we've got a few case studies where we've done this in the past, so we'll again try and get some of those on our social media channels for you to have a look through. Focus or listening groups also really effective. Later on in this series we'll actually cover these in more detail and be able to give you some top tips about how to run one if you're to do so. But before we finish today, I'd like to give you 5 things to think about when it comes to employee voice in your organisation. If you subscribe to these recordings, then you'll receive a PDF with more detail in the attachment when it comes. And if you haven't subscribed, then again, I'll make sure I post the link on our social media channels after this session. So it's very easy to sign up, and then you'll get the recorded copies of these sessions after they take place, so you've always got a copy of them. So, number 1. Make sure you create a culture of trust. My slides aren't loving me today. There we go. Create a culture of trust. Employees won't express their ideas or speak up if they feel that their contribution is subject to negative consequences in any way. Employees need to feel safe to speak their mind without any fear of reprisals. It looks as though number 2's come up already. So line managers have a part to play. Now, it sounds obvious, but in a report by IPA and Tomorrow's Work, they identified some key characteristics of leadership that they found help to empower employee voice. And they list these as openness, good communication, and approachability. So there are some of the key characteristics that we found effective line managers to have to help with this. Number 3, let's see if it works. Yay, number 3, remove blame. So in that same report, a case study was published which looked at employee voice within Unipart. They had a no-blame culture, and they introduced a concept that no problem is a problem. So rather than looking at it as a problem, they would look at them as opportunities for improvement. Employees believe that consultation and involvement strengthens their commitment to the site where they work, and that is what ensures success. Number 4, Get to know your employees. Again, it sounds really obvious, but it does get neglected at times. So try and learn about them in a personal capacity. So for example, by knowing their names, their personal interest, or even their family context. Both employees and leaders have found that this strengthens loyalty and commitment. And in turn, they'll work harder towards those shared aims and objectives. Finally, number 5, encourage ownership. So remember that more often than not, your employees are the experts in their area of work, and getting them to be the ones that investigate and implement any ideas or improvements that they may have put forward really supports this type of engagement. Anyway, that's it for today, so thank you so much for joining me. Our next session will be after half term, back on Friday the 9th of June. That's going to be at 11:30 a.m. and we should have Emma back with us for that as well. And that one we're going to be talking about involvement and why we believe it should be added to the enablers of employee engagement. So thank you very much. Have a good week. Thank you. Bye-bye.